get into today's topic?
Let's do it. We've already wasted enough time.
Yeah, not too much extra. We normally wait about 10 minutes. It's been about 14, so not too bad.
That's good.
Well, today, chat, we are talking about esports. Are they a real sport, though? That's the question. What do you boys think?
All right, Unisonus, chill out.
Hope he doesn't accidentally pick the wrong background. That'd be bad.
Yeah. No, that's why I'm stopping, because it's too great.
I remember a certain day of him doing that. Esports, yes, they are a sport. Anderson?
Should I just say no so we actually have a point of like contesting?
Well, we can still talk about the counters.
Yeah, I mean, there's always counter arguments to everything, and I'm sure there are probably gonna be people in chat who would have a counter argument to it. You know what? No, actually, I'm gonna rephrase what I said. Some yes, some no.
You can't go half and half. It's either one. It's either a sport or not.
Nope.
You're the motherfucking people hate trying to talk to.
Then why are you in a podcast with me? What?
Because I'm an asshole.
I would say there are some games where it's yes, some where it's no, because I feel as though to make it a sport, there's a couple different things that have to go into effect here. It has to be some sort of level of competitiveness, and some sort of level of, I guess you could say, mental prowess to hand-eye coordination kind of thing. And there's some games out there that people will try to make an esport, and I just don't think that's the case. I'm probably going to lean more towards yes, but there are some games where I would definitely say no.
So you're saying like Rainbow Six Siege can be an esport competitive game, but Leisure Suit Larry is not?
Yeah.
So this is where, so let me ask you this.
Okay.
A sport is a competition, you would say, yes?
A competition where someone has to be able to perform at the level in which is required.
Okay.
However, it also depends on what sport you want to speak on.
I was going to say, because like you could take Leisure Suit Larry and speedrun it. Is it then a sport?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like speed. What about speed running? Because
then like you have to be like
not competitive, but
top of your game, like executing on every little button input and everything like that. Because a lot of the things they do are like, especially if they're doing like glitched runs, they have to do like frame perfect fucking inputs on their controller in order for it to work. Otherwise, they're going to lose a shit ton of time.
Yeah, like Mr. Crab overdoses on ketamine. That's a good one that has to deal with very many glitches and frame perfect kind of inputs.
I like how that's the example.
I could have used Doom Eternal, but I was just like, well, people like Moist Critical, and I'm just like, yeah, Mr. Crab overdoses on ketamine.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would consider speed running.
Wouldn't you say that's
sport?
Would you consider racing a sport?
Technically the same thing.
Because that's then at that point a sport. Because the speed running is racing, technically. Racing to see who can get the first or the fastest time. Now I know this is like super gray area kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is super like bare bones down, but
okay,
kind of comes with this kind of topic.
Okay, let's do this at least before we really start hitting gray areas. Let's actually take a second to describe esports for anybody out there who may not have ever watched any esports. Like Anderson touched on Siege. I know there's a big esports arena, or at least it used to be, in Halo, Battlefield, definitely Call of Duty, League of Legends, Rocket League. Like there's a lot of sports out there that have esports actual like tournaments and championships and seasons for them. There's a lot of games out there that don't. I think that's where my definition would come into play, is games that have a built-in, like a built-up community to be able to have teams or solo player people within these seasons or tournaments or championships where some sort of prize is attained, whether it's a trophy, a champion title, bag of cash, whatever it is. I mean, you could even say Fortnite, unfortunately, but it's true. That to me is where esports. So esports, I see that as like at the NFL. Like you got NFL, NHL, esports. Because esports is that like something where there's other things within it that have, and you could even break it down if you want to go even further. But esports to me is like something where there is some sort of season or title, like season held or title attained. And that's why I don't see speed running like outside of the fact that, I'm now the fastest person in the world to be able to do this. Cool. That's a title you earned. But there's also the reason why the Guinness Book of World Records exists. Like, that's where I'm seeing that divide is like, okay, you hold a record, whereas this is a sport. And that's my divide in it.
Yeah.
I don't understand that truthfully.
Well, so like if you were to like really break it down, so I happen to have on my right monitor over here, the definition of sport from Merriam-Webster itself, herself, himself, whatever. Send me your pronouns later.
Jesus.
The first one is to amuse oneself. And what are you not amusing yourself playing sport? No, I'm fucking around. That is the actual first definition, but because there's a lot of things like there's like to engage in a sport, to mock or ridicule. So I mean, this is like an intransitive verb, and we're getting into nouns. There's a source of diversion. Sexual play is another option.
Yeah, because I consider BDSM a sport. All right.
Yeah. Physical activity engaged in for pleasure or particular activity.
Spank your ass for the fucking gold cup. Get over here, bitch. I'm about to get a title.
A particular activity such as an athletic game, so engaged in. So, I mean, definitions can definitely change. So it's, I guess, how one would define a sport to see if it's a sport. So if we're thinking like in the traditional sense, where it is a game played either amongst teams or individuals competing against each other, or like, either one-on-one or as a group to achieve a title or a prize or be the best. Would that be the fair definition here, other than sexual play?
Yeah, I would say that'd be a fair definition. I'm not even going back to the sexual play. There's too many free jokes in that one.
I would give a counter question to that.
Okay.
So would that then mean that anytime I or you or Anderson were to load up a game in which competition takes place, such as any aforementioned game that I've said thus far, or any other one out there, then thus we would be participating in esports, even though we're not participating for a title, we're just playing for the win because there's some sort of semblance of competition per that definition. If you break it down to bare bones per that definition, that means any semblance of competition would be considered a sport. Well, does that make it within esports is the question.
Think of it this way, kind of along that same line. Say you and I go to play tennis. It's just you versus me. We are playing the sport of tennis, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's just you and me, we're not playing for a title or a prize other than bragging rights. So like there's just the difference here is physical activity.
Oh no, I'm not saying in any way that physical activity undermines esports.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I do firmly believe that esports is a thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, I'm
saying I don't believe every game out there is considered within esports.
Although I would like it to be, because then it's going to make my conversations go a lot better. Yeah, I just play some sports.
Tom, I play some sports, get down my gaming chair with my gaming rig.
I just say I talk a lot, and I'm not lying when I say that.
Yeah, very true. But so I guess you would be right there saying not all games are sports, but would it be fair to say all games can be sports in the right environment?
Yeah, absolutely.
So speed running included.
So if we're gonna hinder on speed running, we'll tackle that first.
Yeah.
I just genuinely don't see it. I personally don't see it.
Have you seen and let me just ask you this real quick. Have you seen a speed run race?
Yes.
So if it's like 4 people racing to see who's fastest,
I still don't consider that an esport.
Okay, then why do you consider NASCAR a sport?
Because they're playing for. Okay, so this is again. I'm going to go back and try and clarify my definition here.
Yeah,
because I feel like that's where the confusion's coming in. So if the 3 of us were to enter into a Rocket League tournament right now under a team name,
like the Gaming Bench Challenge series.
Oh shit! Like under a unified team name, in which we've been practicing, we're going into the tournament, we're playing other teams that are established to go in and win money or a championship title or whatever it may be. The determining factor would be the game. If someone's speed running Super Mario, I don't see that as an esport. I just don't. Like, I don't see how that clarifies being an esport just because I'm trying to beat the game as fast as I can against other people. I consider an esport in this case a game that's been determined, I guess you could say, by the community to have some semblance of tournament or season or something. That's why, like, for instance, you watch ESPN and you see all these different sports. Each individual sport has its own unique thing as a sport because it's something that was set up in team-based environment or solo environment to be able to attain the within the season, the title of champion within that. Like, we just watched the NFL, we're watching the NBA right now. March Madness is going on, things of that nature there where there's going to be some sort of champion. I don't see that in speed running because I guess to me, speed running just hasn't been, and I could be wrong. I'm sure chat's lighting me up right now, but I just have not seen where that is a determining thing within esports. When I watch an esports, tournament, I don't go watch these, like, I've never seen them, maybe out there, could be wrong. I've never seen anybody have an esports tournament where you've got 50 people in a room all speed running the exact same game to see who can win. But I have seen it where you've got a duos competition in Fortnite or a 5-man team playing against another 5-man team in Siege. Shout out to Rusty's, he got me hooked on that, and shout out to Fallen Jewel as well. Like, I've seen those things, but I've never seen a situation where there's a giant competition set up, multiple, thousands or millions of dollars invested in being able to have this big grand tournament where you've got 50 people in a room speedrunning the exact same game.
I mean, that's literally like track and field in the Olympics. There's a bunch of people going fast as they can to get the top time.
And to answer your question, those do exist. They're not as common. Like, typically speedrunning is just going to be more individualistic. And then you'll have things like AGDQ or SGDQ or just the GDQs in general, just games done quick, which that's just like a marathon, kind of more showcase than anything. That's more for like racing charity. But there are, and you can kind of see a semblance of that during a GDQ. Sometimes they'll have a showcase where they'll have 4 players race at the exact same time to try to beat the game as fast as possible. And then to get off of speedrunning for just a second, kind of going back, like using your Super Mario World analogy, like, I don't know if you remember, like, way back in the day, Nintendo went around like country to country looking for like the best players to get the highest scores in some of like these older Mario games. And then they brought them all to LA to play this one massive tournament, and whoever got the highest score won, basically, was what it was. So that was a large, endeavor by Nintendo to set up a tournament, to set up a prize, to spend money to kind of get that game out there. So by that definition, yes, I mean, and I would agree that one is probably a bit more of a sport because it was so kind of national, but I don't think you necessarily have to be national or big or anything like that to consider something a sport. Like, and I know that's kind of getting into, you know, a little bit more kind of finer territory of what is sport and what isn't sport, you know, is whack-a-mole a sport, you know, kind of stuff like that. But
I mean, but
yeah.
no, using that exact analogy there,
Mm-hmm.
I could go to our local putt and go play whack-a-mole and set up a tournament with 50 other people. Is it a sport now? No. Just because I'm playing like just because I'm playing it amongst other people doesn't make it a sport. Same thing with speed running. There's other semblance of games out there. Like people do zombie runs on Call of Duty. I don't see that as a sport. I just see that as something that someone's doing to, you know, kind of just do it to see how well they do.
Would you see it as a competition?
Not really.
Even though if they call it a competition.
I mean, I could call me racing my chair in a circle around my office a competition with other people. Doesn't mean it's a competition.
I mean, if you would compete against other people to see who do better in whack-a-mole, like competing is the verb there, you know, like, so but, like, I mean, and so, I mean, we're kind of getting into grammar there.
Yeah. But so what I'm saying is I see it more as something that has been set up within the game itself. Like I said, with Call of Duty or Rocket League, games like that, where has been an established foundation of teams and an environment for competition to grow within a season or a tournament or however. That's what I see when I see esports, and I've just never considered speedrunning an esport. Who knows? You know what? We could have a Louder with Crowder segment of change my mind. By all means, like change my mind on this, you know, and let's see what happens. But I do not see it as there are plenty of games out there. Yes, I don't see all of them as esports related. I don't.
And I can see kind of where you're coming from, especially, and I think probably a majority of the country probably agrees with you to some extent, which I mean, I kind of do. Like, you know, like if you want to call something a sport, you know, you could technically get into the nitty gritty of what is sport, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, and clearly you can see to your point that, yes, these games that are set up to be a little bit more esporty are esports. Rocket League, CSGO, League of Legends, you know, like there's a bunch of shit out there that has huge followings and the game's set up to be a competition, technically, you know. So like I agree with you there that the majority of the esports out there that are still kind of in the argument to be considered, are they sports or not, are still set up kind of sport with like a sport mentality to it, like, you know, with teams and stuff like that.
Anderson, you've been real quiet, buddy.
I mean, what else you want me to say? I'm pretty much stealing all my points.
Throw something in there. Go ahead.
I'm good. There isn't really much I can throw.
So, we got a little bit of murmuring in chat from Kate.
Get a little
yeah, well, it's not too like it's just Kate talking, but so she says, why do we watch sports? To be entertained. Games like Super Mario would not be as entertaining as watching teams play COD. That said, esports could be any game that is deemed entertaining and provides monetization to the host. At the end of the day, esport is in the eye of the beholder, LOL. And she said hosts and winners, should I say. So, I mean, which is fair. And I think like in all respects, we're all kind of right in our own regards, you know, but you know, it's all going to be tomato.
Yeah, I mean, you can sit here and argue about grammar and the technical definitions of it all you want, but I mean, honestly, it's what the viewer views as entertaining to them.
Yeah, what I don't like is the people out there that come in saying, "No, video games aren't a sport." Like, there's no absolute way.
No, that's like, fucking dog shit.
Like, which to that, you know, yes, it might not be as, you know, you're not physically exerting yourself like your more traditional sports, but we've also come to a point in our development as a human species to where we're not having to play with sticks and balls and rocks and shit. Like, you know, we've got fancy electronics and stuff.
I mean, whenever someone brings up that point, I just look at them and say, what about chess then?
Well, I find those same people too are the same ones who say, oh yeah, that cornerback missed the ball. Dude, I could have intercepted that and ran that back 99
Yeah.
yards. Okay,
Yeah.
Chief, put on your varsity jacket. We know you did great in high school, sure, but you're also 40 years old. Get out on the field and go play with the big boys and go see how well you do. Same concept. You want to pick up the sticks. You want to prove that it's not a sport. You go ahead and play against some of the best. You're going to get your cheeks clapped. And I mean round of applause clapped.
Oh yeah, standing ovation.
Yeah.
And in fact, like, and then everybody on the stands would get out and then just start kicking your ass.
Just started beating the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Except for the other guys that are like, no, I could have done that better too.
Well, it's
then we throw them on the field and beat the shit out of them too.
It's absolutely crazy to think that in 2021, there's still people out there who and I recognize the fact there's always going to be people who are just
idiots. Yeah.
Idiots.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, there's always going to be those people who are the loudmouths who try soapbox voice over everyone else. But the thing is, like, the fact that it's 2021 and we're still arguing about are esports an actual sport? The level of focus, hand-eye coordination that you have to have in some of these
and
games,
just overall commitment.
and commitment
Yeah.
is nuts. I mean, we talked about before. Sam, you talked about when you were playing Rocket League religiously, day in and day out, and just to try and reach at the time, what was it, Grand Champ?
Yeah. And still never did.
Yeah.
Like,
but you were grinding, and honestly, like you're one of the best Rocket League players I know, and we've been playing Rocket League for a long time. Like, hell, I even at one point in time competed on a team. I remember back in the day, I was competing in Halo and Battlefield 2, Bad Company 2. Like, you know, those I was part of a team. The thing, esports have been around for a really long time. But it's always the people who have the negative that always get the spotlight of saying, "Oh, it's not a sport." No, it is. Esports are 100%
Just too dumb to play it.
Yeah. Esports are 100% sport. If you genuinely, and this is a PSA for anybody out there who believes that esports aren't a sport, if you genuinely believe that, find a game, go online and look up any game within esports. Look at the big names. We'll start with the big names. Don't even go to the little ones, because the three of us are already having a discussion about that on whether or not, you know, with that. Look at the big ones, at least for that sake. Choose one. Any of the big names. Choose one. Sit down. Get into a competition and play it. See how
get your ass whooped.
You will get your ass whooped. I'm talking your cheeks will be so raw when you're done that you'll never want to pick up a controller or a K&M again. Because these people out here are grinding day in and day out with their teammates. They have schedules they have to meet. They have deadlines they have to meet. They have tournaments that they have to be prepared for. These guys are competing for giant cash prizes and titles.
Shit, you can go on YouTube and find people that set up whole gamer houses and stuff like that, just so they could train and sleep in the same place because they're constantly training. And when they're not doing that, they're sleeping.
Yeah.
But even beyond that, like going into, you know, that level of commitment and, you know, like how much they're grinding and everything like that. When you look at esport organizations now, they're basically actual like NFL teams or NHL teams. Like, the difference being, you know, the esport orgs will be multi-game orgs typically.
Yep.
So, you know, like Space Station Gaming, Cloud9, Optic, which I don't know if they're even still around, Phase, you know, like everything like that.
100 Thieves.
I mean, you know, 100 Thieves. Like, you know, they set up, I mean, huge training regimens for their athletes, and I'm going to call them athletes. Like, that's something that I'm going to call them. Like,
I mean, shit, they got paychecks and they got contracts they got to sign. So yeah, call them athletes.
Yeah. And a lot of times too, like, you know, if you get somebody foreign, like I can't remember who it was, but there was an esport player up in Canada that was trying to get a visa to come and compete down here in the US, and he got an athlete's visa, not, you know, just like a leisure one or anything like that, because that's technically what he is. And because it's somebody competing at the highest level, you know, as something they're really good at. But I mean, going back to the orgs anyway, like, you know, they spend a lot of money and a lot of time training their athletes.
Not to mention they got a shit ton of sponsors.
Well, yeah. Yeah, they're all set up, with a bunch of different sponsors, different, ways to generate income. I mean, they're full on teams, just like any other sport.
Like Joe brought up the 100 Thieves. I'm pretty sure, like, what was it? They're one of their sponsors is Mountain Dew, and they're fully decked out in Mountain Dew shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, you see Monster, you see like Rocket Mortgage, like a bunch of other big ones.
Yeah.
That are investing tons of money into these guys because, they're gonna have that eye in the public.
Mm-hmm.
So
and that's the thing too, is it going back to the point I made before, and it might overshadow it a little bit, but these organizations aren't just competing in one game.
Yeah.
They're investing in players to play in all kinds of different games.
Mm-hmm.
Like one game that I know we haven't really talked about before because we haven't really dived into it too much. League of Legends.
Huge.
League of Legends has an enormous following in their esport community.
Mm-hmm.
Enormous. Like a game that I guarantee you this also goes back to the point of the people who, the varsity jacket people. A lot of times these folks think, oh, Fortnite. Same concept. Pick up the sticks. Gonna get your ass whooped. Guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't think of all these other games like League of Legends that are out there, also massive names. They just don't get the massive light like Call of Duty does or Fortnite does. But like it's undeniable that esports is a sport. Undeniable. When you look at the millions upon millions of dollars. Go ahead.
I was saying it also factors into the fact, like some of the games that you see that are traditional, like esports, they may be traditional over here in the US where we are, but other countries have different games that are hyped and bigger following in those countries.
Mm-hmm. But again, so I genuinely, and for anybody out there, I genuinely say, like, if you follow an esports community or an organization and you believe that esports is a thing and people are telling you esports isn't a thing,
tell them to put up or shut up.
Yeah, put up or shut up. Tell them to play you. Pick a game.
What I like to say is, we all know, like, X Games is one of like the pinnacles of like just a sporting conglomerate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rocket League was in fucking X Games.
Yeah.
Rocket League was in fucking X Games. Like, like that. I don't think it gets any more clear than that. That, hey, this is something that's legitimate, that takes talent, dedication, just like any other sport. Like, you can go out there and practice, shooting hoops 12 hours a day, become a big basketball star, or you can stay inside. Oh no, I'm hunched up in front of my computer because I'm so unhealthy. No, like they're like, you're sitting there dedicating a big portion of your life to something you love.
I want to stop you right there for a second. No one can ever use that excuse that gamers are unhealthy.
Most of the esports players that you see are not jacked necessarily, but like they're healthy.
Correct. A lot of these guys, and if you follow a lot of these organizations, they talk about like the contracts they sign and stuff. A lot of these contracts have clauses in them that if they have to maintain a level of health commitment. Like these guys, as soon as they're done training, they're in the gym. Like before they go have a happy life, I'm pretty sure 100 Thieves within their compound has an enormous gym.
Oh yeah, they do. I saw it on their their house video.
Yeah, like I'm certain these guys have to stay healthy because it's not like we all remember the South Park episode of World of Warcraft. Bathroom. Like we all remember that, but it's not like that. It's not like that at all.
Nope.
I'm pretty certain a lot of those gamers could dust plenty of people who call esports not a sport. They could probably dust them in a race, bro. Like, put on your kicks and hit the track. Let's see how fast you can run. Like, these guys are healthy. And the thing too, they've got a lot of so there's a couple, and this is going to get into like the sponsorship side of things, but like, so we are endorsed through Rep Sports. Rep Sports is a reputable sports drink company. Rep Sports has multiple athletes, many athletes on their roster. Guess what? Half their roster are gamers.
Yep.
Like they actually have different focus powders that you can mix with your drink that have no crash level, nothing in it that's going to hurt you, that gamers use. These gamers are promoting it. These athletes are promoting it. Like, if we're looking at it from a standpoint of sponsorship alone, when you look at companies like that who are putting together platforms for these athletes to be not only taken care of, but taken care of well, and are committing money to actually developing products for these athletes, like, how do you fight it? How do you fight the fact that esports are real when companies are devoting thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars to make sure that these athletes, regardless of the sport they're playing, are taken care of, including esports?
Honestly, at that point, it's just ignorance.
It is.
Well, to kind of, not that I disagree, because I agree wholeheartedly, but if you're to look at it from the case of like Rep Sports, or we can name other brands, you know, like G Fuel and a bunch of other ones that are focusing on that, do you think that's more a recognition of an athlete / sport, or is that just a, hey, this is a product opportunity?
I think some companies see it as a product opportunity. Go ahead, Anderson.
Yeah, I was just saying, I see it as a little bit of both.
Yeah, I see certain companies. I'm sure there's certain small companies who are trying to get big name, and they're probably doing it for product, like to get their name out there. But I think that you see a lot of these companies out there who are actually doing it for the athletes. Like, I firmly believe that there are companies out there who I mean, you got to think business is business, regardless of how you look at it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And business is always going to be the forefront. Business is always going to be the main headline of that. But I genuinely believe that these companies are investing this money to make sure their athletes are taken care of, like, and make sure that they not just taken care of, but like I said, taken care of well. Like, to not get on a business tangent, because that's not what this is about, but these companies have to be smart. Mm-hmm. These companies recognize sports all around. If these companies are devoting their revenue, or at least a portion of their revenue, to make sure that these athletes are taken care of, and developing these products, taking time and revenue to develop products to make sure that these athletes are taken care of, where's the question?
True.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're gonna have companies out there who are gonna do it to get their name out, but when they get their name out there, do they then start, you know, generating revenue to make sure that their roster is taken care of? Probably 95% yes. And I leave the 5% because there's always going to be sleazy companies out there. We know that. We live in the real world. It's not this perfect sunshine and rainbows BS.
It's not.
Oh,
hey, Google, set the lights to rainbow. But that's just, again, where is the question anymore? There is none. Like it's, and Anderson said it best earlier. One simple question. It's just like chess. You know, it really is. Like, it baffles me again that 2021 we're still asking this question. It really, really does baffle me. But there really is no question when you boil it down to foundations or organizations, the games that are played, and how those tournaments are set up, the businesses that back them. 3 big things right there. You can even add in the health of the athletes, like we talked about. Like, These guys are signing contracts for multiple millions of dollars. And we're not talking streamers. Like there are some streamers out there who are athletes as well who do that with their team, but they also stream to make sure that they're,
taking care of their own needs.
Exactly. They keep up with their own communities, and that's totally fine. But there's no question. There's none. And if there's people out there in chat, please, if you're out there trying to say that there isn't, give us valuable
You're
reasons
wrong.
as to why. Like, give us valuable reasons that you can come up with as to why they're not. Like,
Honestly, to people like that, I just say, like, go into a fighting game or like an arena fighter and then go into the matchmaking there. You're going to get your ass clapped.
Yeah.
Go load up.
I've even heard
like how you do.
Jesus.
And kind of on that same topic, I've even heard I've heard the argument used like for esports being a sport. Like, well, if you think about like, okay, you're just thinking these guys are sitting down and then doing stuff with their hands or fingers or whatever. Like, wouldn't you kind of consider racing something like that too? Because like technically you're just sitting there.
Technically, you're just sitting there
holding a steering wheel,
doing pedals and holding the steering
wheel.
wheel.
You got to be able to move a steering wheel, but
yeah, you also got to be able to move your thumbs on a controller and stuff like that.
It's got some some correlation there, but like it's not a great one. But I've it's still you're sitting there not doing anything. Technically.
Next challenge. Play a game or beat a game while doing 220 in the passenger seat of a stock car.
Oh, no, I'm good.
You do.
Yeah. Now, with that, you are, to your point, you are feeling physical forces there. So,
forces.
That's good. Yeah.
I don't know, and that's just NASCAR. But if anybody out there watches F1,
oh God, no.
But have you seen on Netflix? There's a special. It's like Formula One: Drive to Survive.
Mm-hmm.
It is so good. Season 3's out now, by the way. You should watch it. It is very, very good. Season 3 just came out the other day.
Most people don't realize the forces the body undergoes when you're going that fast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and honestly, using that as a brief moment, like shout out to our boy Tyler. He's the one who got me into F1 because I was hanging out with him and he had it on the TV and I was like, what is this?
The fuck is this shit?
And I'm watching.
They took that turn at what speed?
Oh yeah, I'm like, how fast are they going? Damn.
They went around that 90-degree turn at 120 miles an hour. No big deal.
Any of them thick boys? Can I do that?
No.
Did y'all watch any of the prior season, by the way, like of the actual sport?
Is it to me? No.
To either one of you?
No.
Oh man, that towards the end there was this enormous crash. There's a driver, his last name is Grosjean. He went through at 140 miles an hour. Let me say that again, 140 miles an hour through a metal barricade. Got up and left. Almost fine.
It's amazing.
Almost completely fine.
And stuff that goes
he had some burns on his hands. Oh, because by the way, his car caught on fucking fire. And he was stuck in it under the metal thing. How?
I just thought of something, and I want to bring this point up too. This. Okay. Yep. Now, everyone out there, you see that little light right there? We'll turn this up. Bloop, bloop, bloop. There are gamers, athletes who play at that DPI.
And that DPI sends your mouse flying across the screen in like 0.5 seconds.
Like you breathe and you've done a 360 no scope.
Not even
literally breathe. Like flick movements, just
not even breathe. You haven't even thought about it yet and you've already done it. Like that's where you're at with this. If you genuinely believe that esports is not a sport, play at that DPI right there.
No, thank you.
And tell me how well you do. I play there. And I play pretty consistently. Like that there are so many key elements that go into this. Just we're talking about like F1. Look at the science that goes in behind building those cars.
Oh God, the science is baffling.
Correct. Look at the actual physical exertion that or the physical testing that those drivers have to go through to make sure they can even get behind the wheel of that car. Those drivers cannot touch the wheel. They can't even touch the pavement with those wheels until they are absolutely 100% cleared to do so.
Yep, behind those drivers, it's not even just a pit crew. There's a whole team of scientists, engineers, and designers that have to go into this to make sure that driver stays alive in the event that a crash or anything like that happens.
Doctors, physical trainers, like it's a lot. Yeah.
Now look at the science that goes in behind that. Imagine the training you have to go through to get to that.
Imagine people that was behind that just to design that mouse.
Correct. That's where you have to look at it. Look at the science that goes in behind that. You can't beat science. You cannot beat science.
Even though 2020 showed a lot of people tried.
Yeah.
The motherfuckers.
Still out here with the COVIDs. Y'all still want to fucking ask if it's real.
Still wearing that mask and that goddamn sheets.
Oh, that's a whole different argument. I'm not ready
Yeah.
to get into.
No, gentlemen, we are a gaming channel. We are not a COVID channel.
I don't think anyone wants to be a COVID channel.
I don't want to. Basically, I know how that conversation goes. It's going to be me sitting here like this the whole time. What did you just say? Please shut up. Like that's how that conversation goes. I'm going to see how far into my cranium I can push it just until don't.
And then by the shape of that mic, it'd be ending up on Pornhub.
Yeah, I was about to say. I was like, man's getting skull fucked. All right.
How far can I put this in my body?
Help me, step Mike.
Bye, Joe.
No, wait, come back.
Oh, that's what I should do. Oh, good idea. All right. I'll do that after a stream because I don't want to spoil it.
For those of you out there, this looks like a dick.
And he puts his mouth right on it. Let's go.
Jesus. But no, kind of round it back. I know we'll have our differences amongst the conversation. We all understand and believe that esports is a real sport. Within that realm, it's just for us, the gray area is the games that are defined within that.
Yeah, like the genres and everything involved with it.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
and that'll forever be a debate. Like,
yeah. There are gamers within esports who have those debates. Let's be honest. Like,
yeah, you could have that debate all day, but I mean, as long as you're getting paid for it, who gives a shit?
Honestly, though. Yep.
Speaking of which, you can hit the Prime sub and go ahead and set free.
I was just about to do that. Hey.
Twin. No, I think we've tackled this really well. And I genuinely leave the challenge to anybody out there who believes that this is, that esports is not a real sport. Please, you don't even have to dive into the world of games. You don't have to have the debate of what game is an esport. Just pick up a controller or a K&M. You don't even have to do this. You don't even have to do that. You can play right there if you want to. Go ahead and do your thing. Do your dance. But go play one of those games against actual athletes in that sport. And let me know how raw your ass cheeks are when you leave. Because I guarantee you won't be sitting down comfortably.
Oh, no.
So
even in one of my favorite game, Nuns 4, there's people that are way better than me and clap my cheek consistently.
Yeah. You want to know what ass cheek clapping looks like? Go back and watch our Nuns 4 episode where Anderson literally turned me over his knee and said, "My name is Daddy, and I will be referred to as such so long as this game is on the screen." Like, go watch that.
He tried to talk back, and I let him have it.
Sometimes, you just got to hard. Sometimes you just got to learn the hard lesson, even if you didn't want to.
I did not even talk shit in that game. I didn't. I was nice. I even said I was just going to podium in that game, and Anderson's like, "What'd you say?" You thought you were
going to be on my podium, bitch?
Anderson's like, "I'm taking first, second, and third, motherfucker."
This man's just doing a split across the podium, like mine. But yeah, no, I that's where I leave that debate because
Yeah,
there
I think
really
it's a
is
good
no
place to
further
call
debate.
it. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I think we've hit basically every major point. If we're wrong, definitely, let us know in the comments or in the chat. And yeah, I think it's a good place to call it, though. We're about an hour in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any concluding statements, boys?
Speedrunning's a sport. There we go.
That's a good one. Yeah, I'd say that's about it. If you don't believe us, put up or shut up. And if you can't do that, fuck off. I ain't got time for
is
you.
real. Duds. No. So everybody out there in the Twitch world, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We are going to head out now, but before we do, we are Twitch affiliate. So that's awesome. Help us out to help you out. As we've said before, by all means, if you want to hit the sub button, great. You don't have to if you don't have it. By all means, we're not going to force you to do it. If you have Prime subs, that's free, but that also helps us as well. What does that help with? Helps us put that money back to you all being able to do more tournaments in the future. Ironic. Sounds like we're doing esports tournaments, but but no speed running. Please go ahead and hit the sub button if you haven't. If you
not yet.
have not, though, hit the follow button because that is completely free. And that helps us out as well, being able to get to more people out there so that we can do more shows with those tournaments that we're doing, more challenges, more podcasts. We're going to do this regardless, but we'd love to be able to bring this to more people and get more opinions as well. So also with YouTube, you out there as well, hit the sub button if you haven't and the bell icon so you stay up to date on all things TGB. And we're out. Bye.
Bye, bitches.
Bye.